What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I got kind of a fun one for you guys here today. It's kind of a slow news day, so, we're not dipping off into Congress too much today. And we've got the DNC chair on his way out the door after just a dramatic loss, like just utter failure of the Democratic Party in this past election. They lost the House, they lost the presidency, and they lost the Senate. Of course, I say they lost the House as if they had it, but they had a chance to gain control of the House. There was definitely a chance there, and they lost that chance. That's what I mean by that. Of course, Republicans had control of Congress, of the House of Representatives. We didn't have control of the Senate. We gained all three. And there's a quote-unquote Republican majority in the Supreme Court. I don't really see it that way. I see it more as conservative majority versus liberal. Right, that there is a difference. There is a very good difference there. But, that's neither here nor there. When you lose that badly, I'm sorry, top of the ticket, you got to go. Right? You got to get out of here. Right? And there's rumors spreading around that Kamala Harris is thinking about running in 2028. Good luck with that. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck with that. You couldn't do it this time. Do you think you're going to be able to do it next time? No, I'm sorry. You're a poor candidate. Right? It has nothing to do with identity politics, which is the topic of this video, by the way. Has nothing to do with any of that, right? I don't think the American people are that racist, that misogynistic, and that bigoted to not vote in a black woman as president. I just think that Americans, if you get a good enough candidate out there, that they will vote for that good enough candidate, right? But when we see Kamala Harris, she can't speak worth a damn, right? She can't articulate her positions on anything. She wants to talk in circles, circuitous garbage, as I call it. Yeah, you can't explain your positions, so we don't know what you believe in, right? And then you're constantly on the defense because of past positions that you've held not that long ago, as a matter of fact. She was constantly having to defend against something she said, right? There was a litany of different things where she was having to defend herself, and they say if you're on the defense, that means you're losing. You're getting pushed back, which is mostly true. Mostly true, but let's get into this thing. Outgoing DNC chair Jamie Harrison pushes back against critics of identity politics. That is right. So he's trying to say, no. Don't drop the identity politics. Push forward. Let's have more identity politics. As if they haven't learned their lesson yet. Democrats just can't seem to learn that lesson. They think everything is revolving around, your race, your gender, and your personal identity, right? Or not personal identity, but group identification. What group do you fall into? Are you LGBTQ? Are you trans? All of those things. None of those things matter anymore, or they shouldn't. I'll put it that way. Your race shouldn't matter. Your gender should not matter when it comes to politics. Women are just as capable as men when it comes to politics. Regardless of what race you are, you're just as capable as any other race when it comes to politics. Your sexual preferences have no bearing on your ability to be a politician. But these people don't see it that way. They want to place you in a box, put you in a group, and then say, oh, well, this is an oppressed group. That's what it all boils down to. Oppression. Who are we oppressing? We got the oppression Olympics over here in the Democratic Party, and it failed utterly. They got a repudiation from the American people, and they can't seem to see that for some reason. They say, oh no, let's go. Let's turn it up even higher. Let's make more identity politics, for crying out loud. Now, not saying Republicans don't play identity politics, because they do. They do, a little bit. A lot of it, most of the identity politics that Republicans play into, and conservatives, is being goaded by the other side into playing the identity politics. It's like we're on the defense because we have to be. Because we're trying to explain to people that these things don't matter. It all boils down to individual merits. The character of what composes the character of the person, not what group they fall into. Right? I don't like those groups, right? Because it doesn't matter what group you belong to, because you're an individual. You have your own opinions. And unless you agree 100% on every single thing, even decision making, then you're not going to be the same as everybody else in that group. You have to be totally just indistinguishable from the next person for that to be true, in other words. But let's get into this thing. Democratic National Committee Chairman Jamie Harrison delivered a steadfast defense of his party's commitment to racial equity Thursday, drawing on his own identity as a black man to push back forcefully against critics who say Democrats need to abandon identity politics. People of color need to see Democrats fighting for them, and that cannot be the excuse for why we lose or win, Harrison said in a passionate speech to state Democratic chairs meeting in Arizona. Now, I want to push back against that. Your color, your race, any of those things, what you look like, how big you are, how skinny you are, whatever your sexual preferences is, none of those things matter, my guy. None of them matter. But they don't see it that way. They think it does matter. When I wake up in the morning, when I look in the mirror, when I step out the door, I can't rub this off, he said, waving his hand in front of his face. This is who I am. This is how the world perceives me. Exactly, my guy. You can't change it. Why would you want to rub it off in the first place? That is what makes you, you. Right? I mean, straight up, that is what makes people who they are. Doesn't matter what group they belong to. This identity politics is divisive because, once again, you take people and you place them in a box whether they want to be there or not. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to identify as that. Well, now you're being placed in a box by these other people in power, and maybe you don't want to be there. So maybe you get offended by that. Maybe that's why we saw such a strong shift red, because Democrats are continually pushing on this identity garbage, and people are starting to see it's divisive, and it puts you in places you may not want to be. Right? You may not want to fall into that LGBTQ category because maybe some of those people are deranged and you don't like that. Maybe you are LGBTQ, but you don't want to be in a box with some of these nut jobs over here, right? Maybe you are black, but maybe you don't like some of the stuff. It just doesn't matter. That's the point here. It's divisive. That is my identity, he continued, and it's not politics. It's my life, and the people that I need in the party, that I need to stand up for me, have to recognize that. You cannot run away from that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, but from the opposite perspective, my dude. Harrison's 4-year tenure will end early next year. He twice suggested he has more grievances he's itching to get off his chest, saying the muzzle comes off the day after his replacement is elected on February 1st. He has no plans to endorse a replacement. That's it for you all, Harrison said later as he wrapped up his speech, because I'm saving the rest for my book, and I am naming names. Oh, here we go. That's going to be a good read, if to say the least. Democrats are having a fierce debate over the reasons Vice President Kamala Harris lost decisively to President-elect Donald Trump, and the path forward for a party that will be locked out of the White House and congressional majorities. Some have argued the party has become too politically correct and overly focused on appealing to voters based on their identity. I happen to agree with that. They do tend to focus way too much on black people and Hispanic people and LGBTQ stuff. Why not just the people in general, right? If we want to get away from racism, right? If we want to get away from bigotry, we need to blur the lines between all of these things. You can't identify as LGBTQ if you don't want to be placed into that box. Just because, right, that's something you should keep private, by the way, in my opinion. But once again, if we want to get to a colorblind society, we need to truly be colorblind, right? But we're not going to be able to do that if people keep bringing up race constantly. That aggravates me until no end. And I know what you might be thinking. Oh, it's just some white guy complaining about racists. Yeah, I am. Don't like racists at all. I don't think we should be identifying people as, a certain race or LGBTQ. I don't think we need to be identifying these people as such, right? Like you see it constantly in the news. And I never understand why they put this in there. It'll be like a murder suspect or something. They'll say, it's a black male, blah, 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 killed a white male. Why throw those qualifiers in there? Why say he was black? Why say the guy was white? Why? For what reason? Right? If there's video evidence of this, we'll see that in the video evidence. But why put that in there? Why? Because they want to drum up hate. They want to drum up controversy to get clicks. It's the media doing this to us, right? It's not the politicians necessarily, but the media does this to the nth degree. They do this to no limits, as a matter of fact. They will put all the qualifiers they can before something. And it's just insane to me that they do this. This is only stoking racial divisions in this country, and I think that needs to come to a stop. Right? Why would we identify somebody's race in a news article? Let me know down in the comments. How would that impact anything at all? Unless there's a manhunt for somebody and you need their skin color to identify these people. That's it. That's it, right? If it's a news story, they've caught the guy. We don't need to know what color he is, for crying out loud. We don't need to know that he's LGBTQ or he's a white guy or he's a Hispanic guy. None of those things. None of that. We don't need to know any of that. We don't need to know he's a Christian. We don't need to know that he plays golf on Wednesdays. None of that matters whatsoever. Identity politics does not matter. Right? It's something that can be excised from politics, and politics will remain divisive. All right? That's just adding more divisivity to it. I don't know if that's even a word. I probably just made that up. Divisivity. Divisivism. There you go. Divisivism. Harris would have been the first woman, the first black woman, and the first person of Southeast Asian descent to be elected U.S. president. But she did not emphasize her race or gender in her presidential campaign. No, but it did come up, didn't it? Yes, as a matter of fact, it did. Why is that? That was the media that brought that up. Asking Trump, do you think Kamala Harris is black? And then he gives some thrown-off answer like, well, she used to be, or she is now and she wasn't. I forget exactly what he said that first time, but the media is the one that brought that up. And then they call Trump a racist for saying that. Well, no, hang on. She's the one that come out and identify as Asian or Indian. I'm sorry. I said Asian for some reason. But she's of both. She's black and an Indian and white. For goodness sakes. She's got all of those mixed in, just like everybody else does. Right? I could come to find out when I did my DNA, I'm 13% Jewish. I'm 2% of African descent. That's right, 2%. I was blown away. I didn't know that. But I'm mixed with all kinds of different stuff. I'm like 7 different things. Yeah, it's a bunch. So it doesn't matter, any of that stuff. None of it matters because we're all mixed. And I'm a firm believer that one day we'll all be the same race anyway. If humans procreate with each other for long enough, eventually we're going to lose all distinction between race, I think. Or maybe if you want to look at it from the identity politics lens, you're just adding another race. Another divisive topic to go in on, I guess, huh? Trump, however, talked extensively about Harris's race, even as many of his allies pleaded for him to avoid stoking racial animus. Oh my God. Okay, so I didn't read this whole story. I just read the first couple paragraphs, so if I would have known that they were going to talk about what I just talked about, I would have read that out and then said no. That was the media that brought that up, and they asked Trump, and he's going to answer their question. So, once again, they're acting like, oh, Trump was the one that was stoking racial animus. No, it's the media that went in on that. He just happened to answer their question. So now you're trying to say Trump is bad for answering a question? These people are so absurd. They're so manipulative that it blows my mind. And that's all of that story, by the way. That is all to that one. It blows my mind. They're going to ask Trump a question. He's going to give an answer. And then they're going to say he's the one that's bad. Trump, orange man bad, orange man racist. Even though he didn't say anything racist, he didn't talk extensively about her race, as a matter of fact. That was an outright lie. They incessantly asked him about her race, constantly. Just like they always do. They try to come in, oh, well, who did Joe Biden win in 2020? He's been president for 4 years and he's destroyed this country. What do you think? It's a stupid question. It's ridiculous. We can see what they're trying to do. It's not really a question. They're trying to invoke a response out of somebody that they can use to garner clicks on social media or online or on YouTube or on TV. That's all that is. Their ratings are failing, so they're getting more and more insane to try to get viewership. It's absurd. Instead of giving everybody the facts, instead of bringing people the news, telling them what's actually going on in this world, they want to manipulate you to make it more divisive. So you get aggravated at somebody. It doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter who, as long as you're mad. Because as long as you're mad, you're paying attention to what they're saying. And as long as you're paying attention to what they're saying, they're getting paid for it. As a matter of fact. This is all absurd. But that's all I got on this one, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. Hey, y'all do me a big favor, big giant favor, if I could get y'all to do it. Smash that like button for me. I really, really, really would appreciate that. And if you're new around here and like to stay up to date with exactly how you're being manipulated by places like the Associated Press, subscribe to this channel because, you know, this is all I cover. Pretty much manipulations by the corporate press, manipulations by the news media, just all of it. You're being manipulated on a constant basis, and it's things like this article that do it. They manipulate, and then they fundraise off of that. They try to merchandise the manipulations. That's what they do every single day. So don't forget that when you're watching your news. But like I said, that's all I got. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.